and the light within. Candle. Particularly have this corn on here per the request of our dear friend Lyric, and she asked for some specific prayers, so we're bringing that forward into today. And then it's always nice to have a crystal. We obviously, I've talked a bunch, we work with crystal balls quite a bit. It could be any kind of crystal, or even if it's not a crystal, a stone, particularly for the function of recording. So you have the water that is going to receive all the information and the wisdom, and also activate the information and wisdom stored in your body, and you'll drink that at the end. You have the cauldron for making offerings and for helping to transform energy. We have the candle, the firelight that's within, that's the light of the sun, that's the light of the fire. And also to acknowledge any of the unseen too. So it's lighting a candle for the unseen. We always have a crystal ball or a crystal as a recording stone. It's like our little computer. Obviously, we always have a divination board. In this context, we brought in corn. We'll talk about corn in a little bit. And then we also decided this time, we brought in a sword. We're going to start to get into wands and swords and pentacles and chalices, probably more next week, but we're starting to move in that direction a little bit. And then this is something that we brought to the altar too. It's a serpent, our little serpent buddy. So, but your basic needs, that it can be anything, is a cup of water. If you have something to burn, like a sage, a medicine, a candle, and a stone or a crystal. So go ahead and gather those things if you haven't already. And we're going to, I'm going to introduce myself, because I'm remembering how to do that from now on, and then we're going to get right in it. It's about 3:05, right? Okay. So before I introduce myself, I always begin with these ancestral homelands. So I'm going to do that right now. And before I do that, which I've already done, but I just want to speak to it again in the context of this reading, is I sage myself. So go ahead and clean yourself off if you haven't already. Only need a little bit. And I did my own little prayer before I began. A couple of weeks ago, I did pass you a calling upon prayer. So hopefully, for those of you that are here from a couple of weeks ago, you have that. And if you didn't receive that, because you weren't here a couple of weeks ago, you can get it on the recording by joining the mailing list, livingvillageculture.com mailing list. So I just want to start with the cedar here that we harvested here on our home. And the cedars for these ancestral homelands here of the Nisenan people. Currently, we're in Ouroboros in the sacred lands of Ustama. Ustama is the name of these homelands. And so I acknowledge the Nisenan people, Shelley Covert, Ginger Covert. And with this cedar here, really think of federal recognition for the Nisenan tribe. And I also want to acknowledge all the ancestral homelands of each and every one of you, all of your ancestral homelands that have gathered here today, and all of those that have been caring for your ancestral homelands, all the indigenous communities and people that have been caring for each and every place that we are currently inhabiting. And this little offering of the cedar is just a small offering to say thank you. So that's for all of our ancestral homelands. I always begin with this. And part of why I always begin with this too is because it's also like, it's a little bit hard to ask for permission if you aren't in relationship to your tribal communities. And but in some ways to make an offering in gratitude and to pay our respects in reverence for where we inhabit and where we're consciously living at this time. And getting to know the names of the tribes that ultimately that are the ancestors, and that the living tribes are where you are. It's very important to do. And then this cedar here is for all of our ancestors. I was having a chat with my friend Vanessa today, and we were talking about how, you know, sometimes in these classes, we don't really know what's happening. I don't really know what's going to come through until all of our ancestors are gathered. And our ancestors ultimately guide what's happening. So I always like to make an offering to all of our ancestors, all our bloodlines, to thank you for each and every one of our ancestors that dreamed us into being in this configuration today on March 31st. the day of Aries, the day of Mars for the art of ritual. So thank you to all of our ancestors. This is for each and every one of ours. You know, mine are the ancestors. I'm from Guam. I was born in Mesa, Arizona, raised on the island of Guam. So I represent the islands, and I also represent Arizona here in Germany. All right. And then I want to just do a quick acknowledgement. Last week, we learned about the 8 directional wheel. We're going to go into a little bit more today. And I just want to acknowledge all the beings that are here at this altar. So I just want to say thank you to the holy beings of the 8 directions. I want to say thank you to Aset in the east. And I want to say thank you to Sekhmet in the southeast. And welcome you all here with us in the circle. And greet you to Sirket in the south. Ener and Rek in the southwest. Nebhet in the west. Anpu in the northwest. Neith in the north. Tehuti in the northeast. And in that way, say thank you to Nut and Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Oser, Ma'at, and Heteru. Thank you to all these Egyptian Neteru. Thank you for being here in this circle. And say thank you again to all of our ancestors and guides. This is for each and every one of us. Thank you. All right. That's some frankincense. So I was asked to share a little bit about what are the things that I take to tune myself up in preparation for ritual. I spoke about some of that yesterday, and I'm going to do that again right here, right now, and then we're going to go into the teaching for today. So the first thing I always do is I stage myself up and build my altar. And Sonia and I built this altar together, and then we clean off everything because we're now moving into alignment. The altar is building itself through us, and that's very much about the art of altars. It's learning what your basics are and then letting the altar build itself through you. And that's ultimately the work of ritual arts in the context of this particular technology. So yeah, my introduction. And as I'm doing that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Isis Indria. Again, born on Mesa, Arizona, raised in the island of Guam. I've been a student of the ancient mysteries for over 20 years now. My very first Hermetic Kabbalah teacher is William J. Kiesel. I love to say his name over and over, William J. Kiesel. Look him up. He runs a book company now called Ouroboros Press, and we're currently carrying the lineage of Ouroboros, which was his first magical arts shoot. We're carrying the lineage here in Nevada City, and we're currently in Ouroboros. Just want to say thank you, William. And then I also want to acknowledge Gudni Goodnison and Lori Goodnison, who are very big teachers for me in the mystery school traditions. And then also want to acknowledge today Marza Villar. She's one of my great elders and teachers, and she's going to be teaching this week, Saturday and Sunday. So we're very happy that some of our teachers are going to be teaching in the school. I feel like it's really important in ritual. In the very beginning, you honor your ancestors, you honor the ancestral homelands, you create the circle and introduce ourselves to the altar, and then really acknowledge our teachers. And it's so beneficial, not only for ourselves, but to say our teachers' names at the altar so that they receive the gifts and the benefit and the good feelings and good energy that's cultivated here in the circle. So it's a way to give thanks and bring nourishment to our teachers too. So I always recommend doing that. And in that way too, we in some way connect to the teachings that they pass through us. It's almost like calling upon the teachings that they pass to us, so that as we become vessels and we offer teachings, we have that community of support and advice passing through us. And okay, so what I do right before ritual, I spoke about a few things. I said about the sage, the altar, we tune into the altar, what wants to be built through us for this particular technology. And then from there, I have my little system of tune-ups. Now, my first tune-up, as I spray this, Protection Mist by House of Origins. And I spoke about it last week. If you're interested in this, let us know, or you can look up House of Origins. This mist is to spray around me because I'm about to give a lot of energy and I want to make sure I'm protected and I'm not drained. And so that I'm like keeping my container really clear and full and filling myself up as I'm releasing and letting information flow through. I'm continuing to fill myself up. It creates like a protective shield. Then I take some of this Kajiwa Ormus, and Sonia's going to write this in there in a little bit. This Ormus she gave to me, and it's got frankincense and myrrh and rose. So I take a shot of this, and that tunes me up too with the frequency of frankincense, the frequency of rose, the frequency of Ormus, and the frequency of myrrh. And there is going to be a class, we're going to get into those particular medicines specifically. So that's coming. And then the next thing I do, that's internal. So I sage myself off. I spray the mist around me. I'm working with different alchemical mixtures and energetics, plant medicines. These are working with plant medicines. Then I take some of the Ormus, frankincense, myrrh, and rose internally. Then I anoint myself. And we are going to get into anointing classes online when we get to the course. So I'll self-anoint, particularly today has been about frankincense. And why I choose to go into the third eye with frankincense and over here in the glands is because frankincense has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier in your brain, and it can go into all of these glands that send messages and information to the rest of your body. If you're going to have one essential oil with you all the time for everything, anything you need, if you only have one, it would be very pure frankincense. This is from the same company that I always work with, Neferton, Mark Abba, and we'll type that in there too. So I anoint myself with this. I've already done all this. And then I anoint myself with another oil that is connected to the frequency I want to bring forward. So today was a tough day for me. You know, I've had a lot of energy and motion today. And it's probably very connected to the fact that we are in Aries and it is the day of Mars. Tuesday is the day of Mars. So there's a lot of like fiery energy moving. It's moving fast. And so I chose to use some of this Sufi rose to like really bring some like of that floral rose energy to the fiery heat energy that I'm feeling inside. And to also like obviously bring more of that love frequency clearly. And also just to nourish myself with rose that helps calm my spirit and helps me direct all the fiery energy and motion in a clear way. So as we start to learn about where plant medicines can be very helpful and very useful. Nettles is a good one for today too. Today, now that's my kind of introductory medicine world, and then for the context of this class. Then the other thing I always do is I have myself this is an earth tuning fork, 136 hertz. And what I do is right before I begin, I ring the end and I tune it up in the crown like this. So I'm tuning myself up. And then I go ahead and I tune other spots. Like today I tuned my heart. I did my heart 3 times. So it's also feeling your body, feeling what's good for you, what you need in your body. And then I tune my third eye. You kind of keep going, you know. Wherever you feel like you need a little bit of a tune-up, do it. And I do this sometimes before, but generally after I work with the other plant medicines. So then I'm also like attuning myself while the plant medicines are working on my body because they know where to go. They have a very powerful intelligence and they know where to go. And so it's also tuning in to the medicine of these plant medicines working on my body, my brain, my heart, my mind, and my spirit. So those are my today's tuning myself up, tapping in, tuning in, turning on. And then the next thing I always do is the calling upon ritual, which I believe we did last week. Did we do it last week? We'll keep doing it because it's a really good, simple one. This comes from the Rocky Mountain Mystery School, which is now the Modern Mystery School, from Goodney Goodnison. I learned this ritual from him. It's very simple. It's very useful. Nat and I went over it today. It's worth going over again and again and again. Now, why I'm sharing this one is because we are going to start to talk about the Tree of Life, and this is very useful and very helpful because we work in triangles. and spheres and squares. We're learning about the basic 3 geometries: triangles, circles, and squares, and all the geometries that emanate from there. Okay, so for those of you already have done it before, awesome, but those that yours is your first time, I'm gonna walk through it. You create a triangle just like this with your fingers. I like to hold it like that. It just functions to create the triangle. Okay. And then you start the triangle and you bring the points down and you put it right over your hara, your dantian, your sacral. And you can go ahead and repeat after me. So you're going to state your name. I say, I am Isis.
I am Sonia.
And I bring the triangle up and I look through the triangle above my head like this. And then you can repeat after me. I call upon my higher self.
My higher self.
Then I open my arms like this, open the arms, and then I face the palms towards the heart, and I bring the energy into the heart. I say, to merge with my physical self.
To merge with my physical self.
Then I bring the energy down, tilting my arms down, fingers towards the ground. Then I bring it behind my body, and I bring the energy into the center of the circle, and I say, for the benefit of this art of ritual offering.
For the benefit of this ritual offering.
So do that one more time. Just repeat after me, follow the motions. I am Isis.
I am Sonia.
I call upon my higher self.
I call upon my higher self.
To merge with my physical self.
To merge with my physical self.
For the benefit.
For the benefit
of this art of ritual offering.
Of this art of ritual offering.
We're going to do one more. I am Isis.
I am Sonia.
I call upon the powers of heaven.
I call upon the powers of heaven.
And the powers of the universe.
And the powers of the universe.
To come down.
To come down.
For the benefit.
For the benefit
of this art of ritual offering.
Of this art of ritual offering.
So that's a ritual that grounds you, brings your physical, your higher self and your physical self together, aligns you with the cosmos. Now, grounding is key. Obviously, we could spend the whole class just talking about grounding. That's a very simple way to ground yourself. Bring a grounding stone in with you. There's a lot of different grounding stones. Black tourmaline is a helpful one to just ground you into the ritual energy. Now, some key words that I want to address. I spoke about this last week. The term for Egyptian magic is Heka. I'm always going to probably speak about this. Heka means, one of its terms, it means power. It means divine energy. It also means words of power. So your words are key in what you're manifesting. So when we did the calling upon, I was calling my higher self with my physical self for the benefit, to make of what this is of benefit and of use. Benefit's key. You want what you're doing to be of great use and benefit because you're an instrument of service. For the benefit of this ritual, art of ritual offering. So it's getting us into the consciousness of making our life an offering. So everything that we learn and do when we tend to our own healing, our own transformation, our prayers, our walking prayer that is our life. When we're getting into the realm of offering, so we're making what we're doing an offering to make more beauty in creation and for all the unseen and seen relationships. So some of the key words is that we're making of our life great benefit and use. And we're making of our life a beautiful offering that is useful and of benefit. And we keep saying that over and over again. Because we really want to be, part of why you're all here and why I'm here is because we're all here to be of service at this time. And when we come together in alignment to learn and open up this capacity, this memory palace that's through the web that's in this room, we're sharing wisdom and understanding and information by the very act of being in alignment. We're creating a memory palace of shake-ups that are wake-ups, like where all the ahas, aha, start to ring. And in this way, we tune ourselves and tune ourselves with each other in this dynamic so that we can make of our life of great service. And that's ultimately always the foundation of everything that I'm doing and what the Oracle has taught me. So that's really the key for this class moving forward. Now, one of the things that I also feel is, really important to talk about is tuning into the energetic frequencies that you're feeling in the day, and then tuning into the energetic frequencies of the day. And the last few classes I've talked about how, Tuesdays are related to Mars. Tuesdays are related to Mars. We are in Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. And so Aries is the beginning of the wheel. Aries is that it's got the horns. It's that initiating energy. Sometimes, Eve spoke a lot about in the last new moon when we did the Aries new moon. There's new moon quality of Aries, and then there's full moon quality of Aries. And the beginning of the new moon energy of Aries is the time of cultivation and a real deep inquiry into what one is here for, what we stand for, what we're here to be of service for. And then from that place, willfully setting that in motion. And so Aries and Mars is very much about will and the courage to set something in motion. Oftentimes Aries energy will just get going. They just get going. And sometimes not really thinking about entirely what they've got are getting going.
There's a question about if you could go through which each day represents.
Yeah, I can right now. You want me to say that the name and maybe I'll talk a little bit about Aries and Mars and I'll go through the week. Does that sound
Perfect.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. So Aries is like the will to move forward, it's like the ram, like I'm going for it, I'm starting the whole wheel of the year. Think of it in that context. So Aries new moon in the time of Aries on an Aries Tuesday. It's a lot of like initiating energy. So today we're initiating a new cycle, consciously or unconsciously. And Mars is like also, Mars is associated in the tree, and we're going to talk about we're going to introduce the tree, is associated with the term is Gebra. Don't worry about writing that down, but it's very much about the warrior. There's an element of like protector, severity, like, and is going to protect and care for what one loves and what one stands for. So the beginning of Aries, the new moon of Aries, is getting to know, doing the deep inquiry to understand what you're here for, what you stand for, what you care so much about that you're willing to protect. And you understand what you're protecting. That's centered in and based in like a deep care and love in service to the whole. And then Aries growing and moving, its exalted Aries is like will and sometimes forceful energy. One of my dear friends, Vita, she's like my little general, her whole chart is about being the general. And I always go to her when I need a little bit of support on like how to like initiate energy or face something that I'm not necessarily facing. Because Aries and Mars is so much about the courage and the bravery. So today, this energy today is about courage and bravery. Like the willingness to initiate this next cycle for our lives, each and every one of us. So today is Tuesday, and then I'll just briefly go over the rest of the days of the week. I'm just curious who asked that. Missy. Okay. So Wednesday is, you both should know.
Jupiter.
No, Thursday's Jupiter. Wednesday's
Mercury. Wednesday's Mercury. So the reason why I do our ritual on Tuesday is because we are learning how to work with energy, aligning our personal will with the will of the divine. That's very much what the art of ritual is about. So that's why I work with Tuesday, Mars, initiating energy, will, courage, bravery, and aligning with the will of the divine on Tuesday. Wednesday is Mercury. Mercury's a great time. It's the communicator. It's also the mediator. It's the communicator between all of the unseen and seen realms. Oftentimes it's like the messenger of the gods to the humans and the messenger of the humans to the gods, and simultaneously to non-human beings. Mercury's a great day to talk about the Neteru, because we're talking about the gods. The gods are having a voice and speaking through me to all of you, and then to all of you to the gods. So it's a perfect day to address Egyptian cosmology. And then Thursday is Jupiter, and that's the day when we talk about divination, and that's when we're sort of expanding our awareness of what we learn about the art of ritual and the details of the technology of ritual in relation to the Egyptian cosmological family, the Neteru, and how cosmology works from the unmanifest to the manifest. And then we look at it in the context of divination. We expand our perception and our awareness into a divination house. And because we are committed at that point that we're here in service, we're here to make of our life an offering. So divination is being an offering and offering wisdom from the house of divination. So that's why I choose those days. Friday is the day of Venus. So every Friday is my date night. We have we try to do date nights more than once a week, but we definitely know that our lover date night with my partner, Ricardo night, is Friday. It's the day of Venus. So we align our prayers and our rituals and our time together and our love practices on Friday. We're aligning with Venus.
Can you also talk about the offerings for the Venus on Fridays?
Yes. So yes, so I'll go through the week and then we'll talk about the offerings on Friday. Thank you for asking that. Saturday, what would Saturday be in the room? Saturn. So Saturday, I'm starting to it's starting to kind of make sense here. Saturday, what would be great for Saturday and Saturn? Structure.
Like planning out your week,
Planning your
scheduling,
house cleaning, or just like taking care of things, like
errands.
and discipline. It's a really great time for it. Like Eve teaches Qigong on Saturday. It's a great time to take a Qigong class because you're now learning the art of discipline and how to hone your Qi. Same thing with Ricardo. He teaches Tantra Yoga on Friday. So that's a really good time to learn how to relax into the tantric system internally and externally and learn how that energy, life force energy, moves through the body. So, and then Sunday would be what? Sun. You know, it's interesting that oftentimes church, the day of church is associated with sun. It's oftentimes where we like illumination, like radiating energy, like that's a big part of the sun. We can talk about sun forever. I'm just gonna keep it to that. One thing I want to say about the church is some of the old stories is that Mother Mary was the church. She started the church, Mary Magdalene. The temple rites, the church came from these temple rites from the time of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. And so oftentimes I think of Sunday as a day to remember the lineage of women that have been caring for the temple rites. And so I, in my consciousness, will do something or study something in relationship to that. So I'm illuminating my own consciousness around the history and the lineages of all the temple rites that have led to religion in various forms. So that's a little bit about Sunday. So then what would Monday be? Monday. It's a great internal time. I find for me with Monday, I really like to do something, self-care is every day, right? So it's not like self-care is only on Moon Day, self-care is every day, but Monday, for whatever reason, I like to start my week with something self-care related. So I'm like doing, they say, to start your week, like write your to-do list and your schedule for the week. And yeah, and you can also start your week with some real self-care because it's a lunar time. It's a lunar day. So there's a little bit about the week. And inside each day, you have planetary hours and then planets that are associated with the hours of the day based on your sunrise and sunset. So you can actually go even deeper into understanding really the fractaline holographic universe and the subtleties of the timeline of we are in the time of Aries on a Tuesday that is, about Mars, and Aries is ruled by Mars, and you can get into the hour, and then you can get into the offering, and get into it how you direct your energy for your day. This is a very Mars-like conversation. This is a very Aries-like conversation. Everything I'm saying, how to direct energy and align with the cosmological workings of the universe so that when you're putting something in motion and action, you're synced up. That's where synchronicity comes in. I say every week, as within, so without, that which is above is that which is below. When the two become one, then we enter the kingdom of heaven. An excerpt from the Emerald Tablet. It's really learning how to align with the energies that influence us and that we are also influencing. It's learning the flow of energy and how to synchronize and come into alignment. And as we become more aware of the cosmological workings of the universe, externally and internally, then we start to get tuned into how to align energy, and everything flows, like synchronicity. We start to see the world in mythological patterns. I think I spoke last week about the mythological I forgot what I said. Mythological, cosmological.
Yeah.
The mythological landscape of cosmological consciousness.
That's it.
We start to drop into the mythological landscape of cosmological consciousness. We are the body of the cosmos. We come from the cosmos, we are made of the cosmos, and we return to the cosmos. There's a reason why through all the ages, the teachings that stay through are the ancient teachings. As the world is constantly changing, evolving, what's trendy and what's in and what's new changes and evolves. What stays through it all is the mystical ancient teachings. Obviously, we evolve them, but there's a through line there because they're pretty much saying the same thing as within, so without, in a variety of ways, a variety of different names, in a variety of different contexts. So I just wanted to speak to that. Now, the other thing I wanted to speak to that I find is really important, especially in this day and age where social media and like self-promotion or community promotion and all kinds of things like that are how we are getting ourselves out into the world, especially while we're in quarantine. Why we lit this candle here for the unseen is because there are more beings on the other side watching you than there are humans. And I feel like that's a really important note. It's not like when you're not around humans or not in front of a camera that you're not being seen. Actually, there are more beings seeing you. We're always seen. We're never not seen. And I find that that's a really important realization to keep tuning into in life, because in that way it helps us integrate why the system of checks and balances, the 42 ideals, is very useful and very necessary. It's a living ritual all day long. We're never outside the ritual. We come into a ritual environment and talk about the art of ritual to feel what it's like to be in alignment with the sacred in the cosmos, and keep coming back here to deepen our alignment and our relationship with the cosmos, to help us realize that we are always in relation all the time. It never actually turns off. Life is this constant flow of ritual all day, every day. Just what level of consciousness, intention, and connection are we working in? Like when we're drinking our water, do we have an awareness that we're drinking the water in the first place? Do we realize that the power of the nourishment of the water? Do we remember that we come from water and return to it? Do we remember all of those that don't have clean water? All the little details of caring for our lives as a living prayer, and learning about how we were designed, what we are designed to be and do, why we chose to be born at this time, and the living prayer that we're playing out in every day, all day, when we're awake, when we're asleep. It never stops. We're always being seen. And that's a really important note in the realm of Egyptian cosmology, because it's an internal system of checks and balances, and realizing that the 72, all the eyes that are watching from the inside and that are watching from the out. And it's a self-realization, a self-recognition path, a self-awareness path, and then in that way too, a bring forth of an influence that is of great benefit to all of creation, because we're aware that we're being watched and that everything we do makes a rippling effect. So I just really wanted to bring light to that inside of this altar here, particularly with all of these Egyptian Netaru, because I feel like it's super important. Now, offerings. So who asked about the offerings? Just curious.
Zara.
Zara, okay. So we sent out a newsletter a couple weeks ago. I did a reading with some dear friends, Scarlett, Balin, and Nat, and we did a reading with the divination board around this moment in time, what's happening with this, what Charles Eisenstein calls the coronation. There's the corona, there's the crown, and then there's the coronation. And my dear friend Charles, highly recommend reading his recent article called The Coronation, Charles Eisenstein, E-I-S, Eisenstein, E-N-S-T-E-I-N. we did a reading about this time, and the board, we ended up doing, I don't know, like 3 hours of divination readings, and it gave very, 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 very specific, very clear instructions of offerings to make. And so because of your question, Zada, I'm just going to mention one of the offerings that can happen tomorrow. One of the things it said for each and every one of you, if you want to participate in making offerings, which, you know, a lot of my elders say that part of the situation, this climate crisis we're in, not crisis, this climate dynamic, I'm switching out of that term, this climate dynamic we're in, is connected to us forgetting the art of making offerings and making our life of an offering and making intentional offerings to feed creation. And so with the board, we always ask, what offerings can we make? It's something that we do regularly. In fact, that is some of the roots of divination. So for the context of this ritual class, to bring forward what is happening in here in ritual tomorrow to keep it moving forward, thank you for that, is the offering. One of the main offerings that was asked is buy a body of water, if you have one near you, where you can tune into the water. Make a boat. It can be a boat that is obviously made of natural materials, because it's going to go into the water. And then on the boat, make offerings like this. One offering that is something from far away, that's of the natural world. Like, for instance, I made an offering of frankincense because I got it all the way from Oman, and I made an offering of frankincense in the boat. Make an offering of something that you use to beautify yourself. Like if it's a really, you know, a nice cream, an organic cream made of these elements of the earth. Make sure it's all made of the natural world because it's going back into the water. Something that you use, like if it's a cream for your skin, or it's like a spray of rose water that you spray on your face, or something like that, put that in the boat. And then you make your frankincense in the boat, and then offer some words of eloquence, of recognition of what's happening in the world right now. Say, and evoking this feeling of a well of emotion, of the reality of the bed that we've made, that our entire species has made, and the reality of recognition of what we've been part of, and then in that way bringing some healing energy to start to enter back into the ecosystem again. And then also some of what it said too was to bring forward ideally speak the 42 ideals of Ma'at. If you don't have those, we'll post them here at the end. Speak them out loud, and then offer either words of good words to the Holy Mother, the holy waters of the world, through your language or a song. So that's an offering you can make tomorrow for the day of Venus. And we've been doing them regularly every Friday. Different people will do them, so we're keeping the offerings moving forward on Fridays. So thank you for asking that. Okay, are there any more questions before I move on?
Just gratitude. Good question, Zara. Okay.
So one of the things I want to share about in this context of the art of ritual, and then we're going to get to the tree. I was talking with Vonetta today. I don't know if she's here, but we were talking today, and she's here. Oh, okay, she's here. Awesome. Yeah, hi, love. Okay, so I was reflecting a lot of what we shared today. We talked about Nefertiti, and I just want to bring light to Nefertiti. Vanetta's had some really powerful connections. She's working with Nefertiti, and all of us here are. Everything that I share is coming from Nefertiti. So I just want to be like incredibly clear about that. And the reason I want to be clear about that is because I'm not like owning any of this. This isn't like mine, you know? And I'm not like teaching you my stuff, my things. I'm like sharing with you what's been shared with me and through me to in this ritual. It's like I'm a vessel for sharing. And I just want to get really clear, when you're in Egypt in 2012, my dear friend Quatli Vasquez was there, and also Medicine Man, prayer man that I've prayed with a lot. Love you, Quatli, wherever you are. Bless you. And you know, he was teaching us a Mexica corn dance in a ritual theater piece, and it was a very profound corn dance, and this was in 2012. And I said, thank you, Kwali, thank you so much for teaching us. And he said to me, he's like, oh man, I said, I'm not teaching anything. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm just sharing, I'm just sharing. And then that moment, we're like, oh, this is a ceremony. And then we just had this like, aha, that these are ceremonies. And I feel like it's in the context of this particular ritual technology, this is about learning how to share wisdom and understanding that's been passed to you and coming through you, and acknowledge the teachers and where you're receiving it from. It's not about owning anything like mine, and it is also very much about caring for and tending to the teachings in a good way so they can be passed forward in a good way. It's not about ownership. I just want to be very clear about that. Like, for instance, oftentimes with this divination board, it was a vision that came, and then through working with my friend Johnny Ray, this board came alive, and sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, your board's so amazing, that's your board? I'm like, no, it's not my board. I just want to be very clear about that. It's a board that came through me, but it's coming from somewhere else because it is a map of the cosmos. So we're not like owning anything that is from the cosmos. We're learning how to be vessels for its wisdom in the coming forward. And I just really wanted to like clarify that because it comes up a lot. And so my main guide and vessel is Nefertiti. And I just wanted to like introduce her here to you. And one of the things that people have asked me to share about this, and so I'm going to share about a little bit, and then we're going to get to the glyph. And I don't share about this very often, but it keeps coming up, so I'm just going to do it. Many of us through our lives have experiences where guides or images or our statues, they keep coming. And the same one will come at multiple times or multiple. And oftentimes that's because they're talking to you or they want to build a relationship with you. And sometimes certain beings will stay with you your whole life and will be as part of your like advisory council. Like Nefertiti is one on my advisory council from the other side. I turn to her for guidance as well as Sekhmet. So I have my council here in the physical realm, the 5 people. Always think about the 5 people that you're constantly communicating and talking with, because that's your realm of influence, who you influence and who influences you, and your 5 influential people. And then the 5 people that are your guides in this physical realm, like who is guiding you? Who are those 5 people? So you have 5 people that's influencing you day to day, who you talk to. That's really, and who you influence. And that's really useful to note because that shows you in a lot of ways where you're at and where you're growing, those same 5 people. And then the 5 that you're most inspired by or that you want to influence you or that your teachers or your guides, those are who the 5 people that you're growing with and evolving towards, connecting towards in that way. And then there's your advisory council on the other side that's not in physical realm. Your friends, your homies, it could be people like for me, my mom's on the other side. She died when I was 4 years old. She's like one of my main advisors. And then my friend Heidi, she passed in 2008. She's one of my main advisors. And then Nefertiti is one of my main advisors. Sekhmet's one of my main advisors. Soon you'll start to realize over time, and as we keep going through these classes, as certain beings keep showing up, your advisory council from the other side. And what's really helpful with that too is they also show you where you're at and where you're going. It's a combination. And so we're learning about the world of relationships through our 5 people that we talk to the most, write their names down. Then the 5 people that you look to as your guides and teachers or inspirations. Maybe you're in relationship with them physically, maybe not. And then your advisory council on the other side. And maybe you're still building that and learning about who they are. And if you are, just notice who keeps showing up. Like a few years ago, or well, maybe not a few, but many years ago, Sekhmet just like kept making it clear, you know, like she's like something would happen, like Sekhmet's name would come up, somebody would say her name, I would see her in image, the statue, like Sekhmet, 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 Sekhmet everywhere. And now Sekhmet's just like here, she's not going anywhere, you know. Same thing happened with Nefertiti. I didn't know it was Nefertiti for 17 years. I didn't know it was Nefertiti. So sometimes your guides and allies don't tell you until way later, or one is not ready, like isn't seeing the signs that are showing themselves. And Nefertiti has, you know, I don't talk about this often, but I have had my brain worked on by interdimensional beings multiple times, very, very specific visceral experiences. And I've learned in Egypt that it was her and her council. And so at that point, when I realized that I'm essentially a vessel for her and a vessel for that council. So I just wanted to start to touch on that because people keep asking about it.
Can you speak a little bit more toward Nefertiti, like what she represents and like
Yeah.
where she came from? And
Totally. I'll speak a little bit about Nefertiti. Thank you for asking that. That
Yeah.
was Ruby's question.
Yeah.
Nefertiti Weneta is like all about today. She is like coming in strong today. Well, she's with me all the time, but she's telling herself to us today. So Nefertiti is one of the most popular statues of ancient Egypt, like the bust. Maybe we can bring this a little closer. Most people are probably used to the colors. This is an alabaster one. So there's an image of her. I'm sure every single one of you have seen this image in some fashion, in some form. If you haven't, please say so, because I'd like to know if somebody has not seen this image. Now, Nefertiti is known to be, now there's opinions. That's the thing about ancient Egypt and Egypt dynastic periods and pre-dynastic and pre-flood and post-flood. Some of the stories, it's unknown. They're mysteries. And so I always say some of the stories are, and the reason why I say that, because with ancient Egypt, so much is covering as we speak every day, all day. So our understanding of who we are and where we come from is evolving day to day. Who we are and where we come from is changing, which is why the art of becoming is a very important way to consciousness, I feel, to work with. We're constantly becoming. As we're learning and excavating and getting to know our past, our ancestral lines, our ancestors' lines in these bloodlines, and before that, we start to learn more about who we are, where we come from, and then we start to know that it influences who we're becoming. So the art of becoming is a constantly growing, evolving dynamic. We never stop growing and we never stop becoming. Thank you, Sonia. So Nefertiti, in the realm of the art of becoming, she is really well known to be the wife, the queen of Akhenaten, and they're known to be the parents of Tutankhamun, Tutankhamun. And most people are most familiar with Tutankhamun before anybody in the Egyptian culture. Like the Great Pyramids and Tutankhamun are oftentimes the most popular, and then Nefertiti's, the bust of Nefertiti. Those are like the three most popular images of Egypt that start to reveal. It's almost like they're the doorways into ancient Egypt, you know? So some of the stories, there are speculations of whether Nefertiti was actually the mother of Tutankhamun. And simultaneously, there's a lot of mystery around Nefertiti. Like, who is she? Where did she come from? Her name means the beauty of the beauties. Nefer is beauty, the beauty of the beauties. Nefertari, the beauty is coming. Nefertari is the beauty of the beauties. Nefertiti is the beauty is coming. So it's this constant movement of beauty, the beauty way. I always think of Nefertiti as the beauty way. Now, some of the stories, and then we're not going to spend all night, we could, but we're not going to, is that when Queen Nefertiti and Akhenaten, when they ruled, which is in an area called Tel el Amarna, they really believed that and made a point in all over Egypt when they were ruling that the Egyptians didn't need to go through the high priesthood to have a connection to the source god, the sun god Ra. Everyone had access directly to the source. You didn't need to pay a price or pay a tithe to the priests. to get to have that connection to the source. So oftentimes, some of the imagery you'll see associated with Nefertiti and Akhenaten is you'll see a sun and all of these arms with hands stretched out like the rays. And those are like the hands of the sun, the Aten, the rays of the sun. Everyone has access and connection to the sun. And one of the stories is when they did that, the high priestess was pissed. They were not cool with it. And they essentially came in to take down Tel Amarna and take them down, and really to erase them from history, which is why there's so much unknowingness around these two. And some of those stories is they knew that that was happening and they went into exile. And there's some recent research around this idea that's still revealing itself, that when they went into exile, one of the daughters, some say Akhenaten did, some say it was just one of the daughters, Mehenet, Miskinen, there's some other names for her too. One of the stories is that one of the daughters went into exile into the Isle of Skye, into Ireland, Scotland, particularly first. And she went into, I just get body chills every time I say that. So, truth bumps. So she went into exile in the Isle of Skye, changed her name to Skota. Traditions, because she had to go and to keep to stay protected and keep the traditions and rites in hiding in secret. Some say that's where the Druidic and the Avalonian, the Mary Magdalene mysteries, the Mother Mary mysteries, why there's a link to these temple rites and the Melisai that go all the way back to the cult of Isis and the Osirian rites, Osir and Oset, was because they were brought by Skota there and working with the tribal people there too. It wasn't like, they started to kind of create and blend. So there's a lot of ritual storylines and initiations and temple technologies and prayer rites and memory palaces associated with that entire line. So Nefertiti was very much a part of, and that change in ancient Egyptian, bringing the old ancient Egyptian technologies back into culture and history, culture in that time. And then when they were broken down, then her children kept the ceremonies and the teachings moving forward. So it's a little bit about her. The Rosicrucians did a excavation of Tel Amarna. They funded it, and actually in San Jose there is a Rosicrucian temple that you can go to, and they have a whole museum with their artifacts from Tel Amarna, as well as an alchemy museum, an amazing temple and bookstore, and they recreated the Peace Garden of Akhenaten. Incredible place. I highly recommend it. So Nefertiti, particularly with me and all of the clan members now, has been starting to teach us. And how she's been teaching us is through the Oracle Crystal Ball. And she's been actually doing initiations and trainings with us. And so what we do is we bring forward what she teaches us, we bring forward in these classes. So there's a little bit about that.
Annetta had a question. She said, where is this? But I'm not sure what she was talking about. Can you elaborate? What is the name of the location of the museum?
Oh, San Jose. You can look up Rosicrucian Temple. Yep, it's an incredible place. Highly recommend it. Man, I want to go. We should all just go again. I go all the time. I should go. I'd like to go more. Okay, moving forward. Any questions before I move forward?
Nope.
All right.
Field trip. Some people said that Beyonce is Nefertiti incarnated.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting to note. Nefertiti is a frequency, it's a principle, it's a quality of the mystical realms that communicates through people. So Beyonce is one of them. Vanessa probably is another one. The crystal ball is one that communicates through me. Sonia, it grows like that. It's not like one person is that. And this is where we get to know why are so many people connected to Isis? She's one of probably the most popular Egyptian Neteru archetypes, energies, beings, living beings. Like she's oftentimes, when people start to enter into the world of Egypt, they greet her. She's like the greeting council. It's like, hi. Usually we start with Isis, and then through Isis we get to know all of these other communities and people and beings and non-human and human. Same thing applies to Nefertiti. My friend made the Nefertiti crown that Beyonce wore. My friend Malachi, he made that for her, you know. So in a way, he is Malachi's they. I want to acknowledge Malachi as they. Malachi, House of Malachi, my really, really dear old friend, made the crown that was the crown that Beyonce wore for Nefertiti. Oh. So Malachi to me is carrying the energy and the frequency of Nefertiti that crowned Beyonce. So together, they're working with the energy of Nefertiti to bring that into manifestation. So it's really learning all the details and the parts of all how things come together and what is being orchestrated through the being, through us. So it's not like about me or, you know, it's about how Nefertiti is orchestrating everything coming into alignment. It's very different. And oftentimes, why that's useful is because then, once we acknowledge that the interdimensional beings that are orchestrating things, and they see that we acknowledge them, and there's a shared relation of like, oh my gosh, everything becomes like, whoa, did you feel that? Did you see that? Did you hear that? Everything, and then it just, we enter in the world, the mythological landscape of cosmological consciousness, because we're starting to see how things are being orchestrated, and how we are an instrument in what's in the orchestra of the world, and then also where we are directing the orchestra. It's learning the combination of those things, because everything is living and breathing, and everything is in a realm of like more subtle or more dense, and more dense and more subtle. It's just this, what's more dense and what's subtle, and we're learning how to live inside those realms. Notice, like yesterday I was sharing a divination reading with my friend Heather. The moment the reading started, like this particular song began called Sacred Earth, and then this like whole orchestra of frogs started like singing. And then and then the flame from the charcoal like flew off and landed on Venus. And then right when that happened, we're like, okay, Venus is involved. And then the gong started playing. My roommate, she's the sound healer, she started playing the gong. And then, so it was like, that's a very clear visceral experience of the world, the orchestra that is the world. We're learning how to listen and pay attention and tune into the divination house that is the world. The world is a living ritual. Ritual is not something you go and just do on the new moon and then you're done. You did your ritual. The new moons is when we learn how to align in frequency and study and tap in and start that time of the year, that wheel. We're intentionalizing the whole cycle of the ritual that we're in for that whole moon cycle. Ritual just doesn't turn off. It's not something that you're done with and then you do again later. It's a way of life. So we're learning how to cultivate a ritual way of life where that level of intention, awareness, personal will, aligned with the divine will, awareness of the cosmological energy that is influencing us, and also how we are influencing the world. It's the 5 people that are in our realm of influence that show us more about who we are at this time. The 5 people that we are looking to as inspirations that help us see who we're becoming and help guide us in who we're becoming. And then tuning into the beings that are our advisory council on the other side. It's a multi-dimensional life of ritual. Is there a question?
Nope, everyone's just saying this is so perfect. Yes, wow, yes, oh my goddess.
Awesome.
Aho.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm going to just make an offering to Nefertiti here. We thank you, we love you. Thanks, Nefertiti, for revealing yourself in all the ways you do in this circle here, in this room, through Beyonce, through Malachi, all the ways that you're revealing yourself. We're really grateful and appreciative. And really an honor. Okay, so to the time right now is 3, right? Or 4?
It's 4.
4. So I'm going to talk about 2 particular deities in relationship to the timeline where, oh no, we wanted the tree of life. You guys want the tree of life.
It depends. I think it go where you feel
Whatever
inspired.
their ancestors tell us.
Combo though, because
Yeah.
it matches you're saying a couple different things. Okay, so we're going to do a couple. We're going to acknowledge 2 deities that we did last week, and then we're going to bring the glyph to the forefront of the room. Okay. So last week for those of you who are here, you probably have the wheel of the 8 directions. If you don't, it's okay. And now what we're going to discuss here in the context of this time of the day, which is 4 o'clock, we're going to connect to when the sun rises in the east and the sun sets in the west. I think Lynette, we talked about this today. This is probably why this is coming up. Sun rises in the east, sun rises in the west. Sunrise and then 9 a.m. there's a deity, a Neteru that we work with. Then there's high noon, so it's Sekhmet, Serket. And now we're in 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock is a combination of Ener and Rek moving into Nebet. So I'm just going to bring the 2 of them to the forefront because this is the time frame we're in the context of what we learned last week and what we're learning this week. Now, sometimes these deities shift. These are the Neteru, but I just felt like that's important to bring forward their medicine because this is the time we're in. So remember I shared a little bit about, go ahead and you can cover the whole camera with them and they can look at it and they can talk. So remember I was sharing earlier in the beginning of the class, aligning with we're in the time of Aries, aligning with today is the day associated with Mars, aligning with the fact that Aries is ruled by Mars. And now we're looking at the time of the day. It's like this class I think was 3 to 4:30, 3 to 5. So Ener and Rek is related to 3 o'clock. And her energy is a big part of 3 moving into sunset, which is Nebhet. So let's bring forth Ener and Rek to the forefront. Okay. She is the deity, the Neteru, very much, she's often referred to as the philosopher's stone. She's very much about the transmutation into gold. Gold's related to the sun. And she's very much sometimes referred to as does the alchemical workings. And alchemy is a very, very big topic. And one of the things I'm very excited about is my teacher, William J. Kiesel, he committed to doing an online alchemy course. I'm super excited about that. Separate of the Oracle Arts Academy, because alchemy is a lifelong study. And for those of you that are working with the energy of alchemy and feeling that term and be mindfulness around adopting that term, unless you actually know what it's about. I just need to say it because that term has been adopted too many times in a way that's, I feel like, not useful for the real medicine of what it is. However, if the term is coming up for you, it means it's probably time to study and get to know what alchemy is. And she is a deity in Neteru that's very much about it. She's very much about the stages of transformation, which is what alchemy is, the various stages of transformation. We are obviously in a very powerful transformative time. You know, why we are in this moment of the coronation, which Charles Eisenstein speaks of, or in this moment of like this container that we are inside of. This is, in a lot of ways, we are looking at our prime states, our prima materia, which is us, and the prima materia of the world that we created, heart created. And then we're kind of in a fermentation stage where like everything is coming up if one is willing to look within or one is willing to pay attention to the world around them. And this is that moment where we're like looking at the prime materia that is our situation and we're sitting with it in a real way. And this is why a lot of purification rites, a lot of ritual rites are very useful. Now, I'm not going to get into the alchemy stages because that's another class, and I'm going to leave that to William because he's the pro. But what I will say is, as we're starting this day of Aries, in this time of Aries, in this next cycle, like notice what is coming up inside. Pay attention. Like bring your eyes inward. And as the eyes are bringing inward and you start to see what's on the inside, you'll start to see how it's reflecting itself on the outside. As within, so without. And this is a fruitful time. I'm sure all of you feel this way. It's probably, I'm just speaking what you already know, which is ultimately what I've been doing the whole time anyways. This is a really fruitful time to notice what you care for, what you stand for, what like lights the fire in your heart. Lights the fire in your heart that you are here to protect. And then notice too what comes up that like triggers and brings about that fiery energy. because that is probably a key to what you stand for. And so that's really what Aner and Rek is very much about. Getting to know what's going on, your prime material that is your body temple, and seeing what's going on the inside and seeing how it's manifested in the world that you created, because this is a holographic universe. You know, as within, so without. The whole world is my reflection pool. Doesn't mean it's one-sided, where if there's one mirror, like, you know, you're my reflection is a pretty vague concept when you really think about it. Because in some of the older stories, your reflection isn't one way. It's not like direct mirror. Some say that there's like 8 sides to the mirror. There's a lot of different reflections. And it's learning how to hone and discern the differences. Because we're all made up of a lot of things. We're not just one. You can't reduce in each and every one of us or anything to something. You can't define something in one way. It's moving out of the consciousness of reductionism into the unity and diversity and looking at that internally. So it's the world as a holographic universe, you know, we're each jewels in this matrix of consciousness, in this matrix of the grid. And each jewel has multi-facets. So I'm a multifaceted jewel. Each and every one of us are multifaceted jewels. And so right there, you have many mirroring opportunities, many mirroring approaches. And some of what the stories are in the stories of Indra is you look into one facet of the jewel and you see all the other jewels in the web. But then you look at from another direction, a facet on that side of the jewel, and you see all the jewels in the web. Same thing on this side. We're multifaceted jewels, which means there are many mirrors that show up in different ways in our holographic universe. She's very much about taking the time to see internally what is going on in your internal holographic universe, what wants to be tended to, cared for, transformed, healed, evolved, for the path moving forward, for the path, the art of becoming. So that's why you have thank you, Sonia. And if any moment, if your arm hurts, just let me know. So that's why earlier I was saying we have our 5 close people. Our 5 close people that show us who we are at that moment in our lives. Think about the 5 people you talk to all the time. And notice how they're influencing you and how you're influencing them. Are you moving into like, is their energy so big that it takes you down, or are you kind of guiding the energy? Like, pay attention to the realm of influence. And then again, what I said, the next 5, who are the ones you look up to or who are guiding you, who help supporting you in the art of becoming. So this is where we're starting to see ourselves more, and then how and where we're growing. And then we call upon our advisory board on the other side to assist us in this alchemical transformative time in our life. So there's a little bit about Aner and Rek. This is the time we're in. So the reason why I wanted to bring that forward is because now we're starting to align with the planet, the astrological signs, the energy of the day, qualities of the day, medicines of the day, deities related to this time of the day. We're refining, and tuning into these cosmological dynamics in this mythological landscape. Now, I just wanted to briefly introduce Nebhet. Now, as you're moving towards sunset today, just take a moment. And again, if you're in a different timeline, Missy, you just look at your wheel from last year. She represents the sunset. We're not going to talk too much about her today because we're going to talk more about her tomorrow. So just want to bring visibility to the one that represents the invisible, which is Nebhet. We're bringing visible the invisible. This is a lot of what we're doing when we share these sacred teachings, is we're bringing visibility to what's invisible, what's unseen. Okay, thank you. All right, so any questions before we move on to the tree? Okay, so today we're going to do some drawing. So this glyph that we're going to draw.
Oh, there's one question. What time do we do ritual on Friday?
Friday, so it's up to you. I recommend the sunset, but again, it depends on your time of like what you can do. I recommend sunset or at night if you can, under the moon. Thank you for asking that question. Venus is really bright where we are, so it would be really nice if you can actually see Venus and do it in relation to Venus with Venus above. That's ideal. But otherwise, sunset's a great time too because it starts to take it in. You have both the solar and the lunar energies present.
Missy asked a question, but I feel like this could be a good question for tomorrow. Can you tell us what each deities are for the directions?
Yeah, we're going to go, tomorrow. Great question, Missy. We're going to go into that tomorrow. Right.
I'll type in the deities that we just discussed, and then how do we relate to these to the time we were born in?
Oh, great question. Okay, so it's a really great question. The time you were born, every time of the day is associated with a planet. And so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And also, time of the day associated with the time of the planet, there are associations with deities, interdimensional, like principles of the natural world, qualities of the natural world. Example being, Nebhet is associated with sunset. Let's say 6:30 p.m. is sunset. So one of the ways that I do have a pretty extensive chart. I wonder if there's a way I can send that, or whoever asked that question, you can send me a contact directly and I can help you decipher your time of the day if you wish. Happy to support that. Because that's a whole class in and of itself, but maybe it's something we do need to bring up later on, for sure.
Maya said, many bodies of water around me are closed to the public right now. Is there another alternative?
Yeah, you can bury it and pour water. So what you can do, great question, Maya. If you can't actually go to the water, what you can do is you can make the same offering, and then if you have some soil, I'm guessing you have soil. Ideally, there's some soil around you. If you don't, and you're in an apartment, let me know. We can work on that. If you do have soil, what you can do is bury it with some soil and pray with the water and offer the water. Okay? All right. So now we're going to get to the Tree of Life. Now, the reason why we wanted to introduce it, well, because it kept being brought up, and two is because this is the foundation of everything that we do here. To the T is the Hermetic Kabbalah tradition. Everything is growing and moving from that, returning to it, evolving from it, returning to it. This is going to be a very useful technology for you if you're probably here because you are calling this forward in your life. So I'm happy to be of service in this way. This is this is a year-long, like lifelong. I've been studying the Kabbalah for a very long time, and I'm going to be studying it forever. That's why I love it so much. It never ends because it taps us into a world of correspondences where the world becomes made up of symbols, signs, corresponding relationships and energies, and it actually supports memory because we enter into the world of memory palace. And I want to discuss memory palace next week more. So let's write that down. Next week's the memory palace. So when we start to learn about corresponding relationships and associations, and what happens is when we start to learn about the art of associations, like Mars, it's associated with Aries, it's associated with Tuesday, it's associated with initiating energy, associated with will, associated with nettles. When we start to learn about these associating corresponding energies, our memory palaces open up in new ways. So we start to, it's almost like we tap into a different kind of intelligence in the body. Because each and every one of us in the Tree of Life have access to, at the baseline, 32 different kinds of intelligences. 32.
Correspondences.
Intelligences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. That correspond to, correspond to the glyph. So the glyph has 32 pathways, so there's 32 different kinds of intelligences. From those, though, you have different kinds of intelligences and their relationships. And so then that evokes another kind of intelligence. So when I say the Egyptians say we have access to 360 senses, And through art of ritual, we're tapping into the innate intelligence in the body. It's a very literal thing. And when oftentimes when I share from what's been taught with me about the art of relationships, why the art of relationships is really important is because you're bringing concepts together and seeing how they relate, and that opens up consciousness into a new perspective. There's a Kabbalistic sort of quote that says something like, what happens when you bring two rabbis together? Or how many opinions do you have when you bring two rabbis together? 3. You got one rabbi, two rabbi, and the third perspective. So this helps us see more into a world of perspectives and new approaches. When you change the way you look at things, things you look at change. Okay, so
we have 20 minutes until Eve's class, so yeah. I didn't know if they
Till
wanna-
which class?
Till Eve, because
Okay.
Eve's is at 4:30.
4:30. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the glyph, and we're going to get into the moment of drawing this glyph. So we're going to pull up this image. Now don't worry so much about the word, don't worry too much about the planets right now. Let's just focus on the circles and the lines, okay? So we're going to start at the top, and the very top of this glyph, you see, it says Kether. So just draw the top circle first, at the very top. Then, looking at the tree, you're going to draw the circle that says Hokmah. Just focus on drawing the circle. Then you're going to draw the circle on the other side that says Bina, and draw that circle. And now connect all those and make your first triad, your first triangle. It's called the supernal triad. In a very, very brief description, don't worry about writing the words right now, because I think it's important that you have the glyph free of the words for now. So the keys to these words is, Kether is oftentimes, we're talking about the coronation, right? Or the crown. Kether is very much related to the crown. And this is also the point in which the swastika is related to this, is the point in which energy's in motion. So this is energy in motion, the fountain, energy in motion. Then from there, energy in motion goes to Hokmah, which is the second circle you drew. That's related to the Holy Father. And that is the symbol for Hokmah is the line, often the lingam too, but it's the line and the seed. So this is when energy in motion at the point has a direction. It's like directing. And then Bina on the other side, which is the Holy Mother, she's also the Great Sea. She's her symbol, one of her symbols is the triangle itself. That's why, and she represents obviously the womb and the yoni. And so she's very much about all of creation comes from the womb. You know, we hear that a lot, and that there's major Kabbalistic truth to that. Like the womb is the seat of creation. That's part of a trinity. So the top of the trinity, the coronation, the crown, is the point of that potential energy in motion. And then then Hokmah, which is the second one, is the line, is the directing that potential energy in motion. And then Bina is the triangle. She's the womb, the brings forward, manifests all of creation. Okay, so that's the first triad. They call these the supernals, supremes. Sometimes you hear about the supreme Holy Mother, Holy Father. There's a lot of it's related to this. Now, don't focus on the planets yet, because we're going to come back to the planets, because sometimes it's a different, and there's a reason why. So now you're going to go over to where you're going to draw the circle where it says Hesed, H-E-S-E-D. It's under Hokmah. So draw that circle, the circle under Hokmah, which is Hesed. Oh, okay. Oh, good. Thank you. This one. Thank you. Now you're going to draw the circle across it where it says Gevra, Mars. Okay. Now you're going to draw this circle, Tiferet, the sun. So this is your second triad. So go ahead and connect your second triad. make the triangle, connect them. This is your, sometimes referred to as either the abstract triangle or the ethical triangle. Okay, now, gonna draw the circle under Hesed, where it says Netzah, Venus. Draw that circle right here. And then you're gonna draw a cross, draw Hod, right here. And then you're gonna draw underneath Tiferet, the sun, Yesod, the moon. Draw right here. Now connect that triangle. Make that one triangle. Okay, so now we have the third triangle. This is often referred to as the astral triangle. So now you're gonna look at the triangles you have in your drawing. You have the top triangle that's up, right? And that was the supernal triad. Then you have the triangle so some of one of the old stories is that when the source creation wanted to express itself, it created the Holy Trinity. I mean, we've heard this in the Bible, you know, like the Holy Trinity. That's that top Trinity, the Holy Trinity. And then it, like, you know, some of the stories are, oh, it liked what it saw, and so it reflected itself. And so it reflected down to your second Trinity, which is why I just had you draw your Trinities, which is your ethical, the one that's pointing down. You have your up triangle, the supernal, then it reflected itself to its second Trinity. And then it liked what it created, so it copied itself to the third Trinity down here. So there we're seeing how the unmanifest started to become manifest. And then you're going to draw the final circle here, Malkuth, the earth, underneath that third triangle. And so that's when it's like copy, 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 manifest, 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 physical, physical, physical. And so this is the entire manifest universe, the planet Earth, the entire manifest world is in here, in Malkuth, the earth, okay? So now you have the spheres. Don't worry about Ta'at right now, we're gonna get to that. Now you have the spheres and the triangles. So now connect all the lines the way that you see it here. Focus on the lines. So I'm gonna do this with you. So we're gonna go back to the top. We have the first triangle, the circle, triangle, circle, a triangle. Now, connect the line from Hokmah to Hesed. Hokmah to Hesed, this line. Now connect the line from the top where it says Bina on the other side to Mars. Connect that line. Now go back to where it says Hesed and connect the line down to Venus, Jupiter. Connect that line. Connect that, go to the opposite side, connect that line. And then with your final triad at the bottom, now connect the lines to the earth, just like that. Connect all those lines, okay? So now we're starting to build the world of relationships and connections. Okay, now go back to the center where it says the sun, right here. I have a little cursor thing. And notice with the sun, all the connecting lines radiating out from it. Now go ahead and make sure you do that now. Draw all the connecting lines radiating out from the sun and all the other spheres. Just like that, okay? All right, so here we have the baseline that is the blueprint of creation, internally and externally. This is called the Tree of Life. And I'm coming from the Hermetic Kabbalistic tradition. I'm not coming from a Jewish mystical tradition. And my first teacher again was William J. Kiesel. Then it was my teacher after that was Gudni Gunnarsson and Laurie Gunnarsson. And I really followed the Paul Foster Case lineage and Robert Wang and Dion Fortune. So I just want to be clear about that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start to fill in planets, okay? So what I want to do, oh, did I not bring my cards? No, shoot. I made little planetary cards. Let me get something else.
Is it?
What time is
It's 3 minutes or 2 minutes to 4:30.
Oh, it's 2 minutes to 4:30?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
We can get to that next.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the planets next week, but before we close, where it says Mars over here, draw the symbol of Mars, which looks like this. It's already 2 minutes to 4:30. I could talk all day long. It's like so fun. Okay,
Can you speak the lineage again
yes.
and their teachers?
Yes. William J. Kiesel was my very, very, very first teacher in the Kabbalah tradition and a lot of things, alchemy. He was a big alchemy teacher for me. So real quick, this is the symbol of Mars. So just draw that in the Mars zone.
Where's the Mars now?
Right here, Gevra, Mars. Yeah. William J. Kiesel was my very first Kabbalah teacher in alchemy, amongst many, many things. And then from there, I studied with the Rocky Mountain Mystery School. And Gudni Goodnison was my second teacher. And then there were a lot of teachers from there that I studied with. And then from there, I just kept on and kept on and kept on. And William has actually stayed still one of my main teachers. So he's been a great guide for me all these years. Okay, so now, why I didn't want you to write in all of the words and everything, because now you have a blank glyph to meditate on. Now, for those of you that are Kabbalists or like have been studying with me for a while, or I don't know how to get out of here. How do I get out? Oh, thank you, darling. Stop share. So for those of you that are Kabbalists or have been studying Kabbalah or been studying with me, and this might be like redundant, it's not, because when we start, the meditation of the glyph is really key. I literally draw the tree of life almost every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, because what I do is I create and manifest the world, whether it's like a business plan or mapping out a ritual or like designing the map of my year, or I'm going to work on corresponding relationships. I draw the tree as my outline to manifest, because I'm working with the cosmological energies simultaneously. I'm building that world of relationships. So what I would recommend and suggest is put this tree, draw the tree again, put it on your altar, like stare at the glyph, get to know it. Continue to imprint this in your consciousness. And so it will lead till tomorrow. So some of what we're doing tomorrow, we're going to be working with this glyph, and then it leads towards divination, because all of the whole divination board is based on it. And then it'll lead to next week. And then one thing I do want to say about the tree of life, there are many different lineages. There are many different traditions. There are many different ways, the placements of the planets. Like you might see Uranus in this one spot, but see it somewhere else. Now, it's a lot of times different magicians experiment. And so I'm going to share with you the tradition I follow and what I'm now working with. So I just want to be very clear about that. You will look online and you will see a lot of different options and a lot of different versions. And that's part of it, because there's different schools of thought. And even today, as I'm growing and evolving with the tree, I evolve with it and it evolves with me. It's a blueprint, a map of creation that one can work with to support them in their life and all their relationships. And so it's flexible, it's moving, it's creative, it's dynamic, it's not static. So there's a little bit about today. Is there any questions? And then I'm going to open up for some questions. And for those of you that are hopping onto Eve's class, her class is hopping on here.
No,
No.
not on here.
Oh,
Eve's
Eve's Qigong class is starting, and you can look her up at eve@ladyapples.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then for those that have a couple questions, I'm happy to be available. So Selena Murphy, I started that rabbit hole. I just want to make sure I'm prepared for the apprenticeship. Selena, yes, you are.
Sorry, no, I thought Eve's class was in this link. Is it not?
No, it's not in this link. Just
No, if you go to the Ouroboros Instagram, Eve has a different link, Zoom link.
so just go to the Ouroboros Instagram. I'll write it here, and then
Thank
you
you. I
can find.
appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
The wrong.
Eve, there we go. And you can
Thank
go
you.
there. Section. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, thank you, everyone. Any questions? Awesome. Vanetta, Patricia, Victoria, awesome. Okay, well, what timeline was Nefertiti on Earth? Oh, yep. Yep, go ahead, Pamela. The timeline, it's something I have a hard time remembering, but I have it written down. I can get that to you, Rhett. What's your question, Pamela? Just about that top circle we didn't draw in. Oh yeah, connect the top circle, sorry. Yeah, connect the top circle to the sun. Connect it all the way in one line, thank you.
I think she's talking about Doth.
Oh, Doth, yeah, we're gonna get to, Giovanna, we're gonna get to Doth next week. Because Doth is a sphere. It's not a sphere, it's the abyss. All of the other one are spheres and this is the abyss. So it's a great, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a whole world we're gonna enter into. Yeah, Pamela, send me that on text. Okay, what should I say that, Dean? Okay, send me on text and I'll get that to you. Okay, awesome. Awesome, this is so, oh please, if you can, I really wanna open up contributions. I'm learning, you're welcome to contribute towards this and towards me and all this, and Isis Indria is my Instagram and I can send you a Venmo.
That's Venmo, and then ouroborosnc@gmail.com is the PayPal.
ouroborosnc@gmail.com is a PayPal. We're totally accepting contributions and we're grateful. Sorry, Ouroboros, spelled it wrong.
And then, do you know your Venmo handle?
I don't, but you can Instagram me. It's Isis Indria is my Venmo. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it very much. Okay, and so tomorrow, same time every day, 3 to 4:30, with questions after. And tomorrow we do Egyptian cosmology. We're going to pick up where we left off last week, and we're going to go into all of the night deities in the 8 wheel. And then the day after is divination. I am still offering divination readings at more than 50%, you know, like a sliding scale for those that really could benefit if you'd like that. And then, like I said, we're soon going to be launching the dates for our online course coming up, which is separate from the Oracle Arts Apprenticeship. And anything else I'm missing?
I think.
Thank you so much. Please spread the word, share with people. Really want to keep growing this, and we appreciate everyone's time. And I'm so happy that you all came. Have a beautiful Martian day. Have a beautiful, and I'm going to make an offering to close here. And for those that want to stay on for that, you're welcome to. Go.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you again, right here with this cedar. I just want to say thank you to all of the Neteru and all the holy beings in all of the 8 directions and below, above, center. Thank you, all the holy beings. And thank you to all of our ancestors again, and all the ancestors that brought forward what happened today, and all the ancestral homelands that we're all aligned in. Incredibly grateful. Incredibly grateful. And just want to also say thank you to the Oracle and Nefertiti and each and every one of us. And my prayer here today is that everything that comes through is of great benefit and use for each of every one of us in our lives and our hopes, our dreams, our visions, everything that we want to manifest for ourselves, that it's of great benefit, and that today we continue forward with some great inspiration that moves into action, that makes of the beautiful world that we are creating together, making more beauty that is regenerative and of great use to 7 generations into the future. Thank you. Anka Neteru, Anka Neteru, Anka Neteru. Oh, blessed be. Okay, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.